our society has developed and in a way that parents have to figure out how to help these kids on their journey instead of telling them what their journey is.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Dads on Purpose, the podcast. I am your host, Josh Ashford, and as always, got the big homie KB, Mr. Kevin Brigance. KB, what's up, man?
What's up, baby?
You partially listened to me. Yo, I tried to tell him, like, my wife has been telling him to back out the mic, and so he tried to oblige us today. But it is what it is. Love you, Kev. Man, we have Vince Kramer with us today, man. Vince, how are you doing, sir?
I'm amazing. Thanks for asking me, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to share with the audience.
Oh man, we're excited to have you. So for y'all that don't Google who's on the podcast before he's here, Vince and his wife, they co-own, it's called Imagine Miracles, right?
Yes, sir.
Imagine Miracles, and they are, the whole purpose of this podcast is to basically help dads become the winningest version of themselves. And so whatever that is. And so that's what we have people from all walks of life on here. And so Vince and his wife, they are big into personal development. And that's really what we're here. So we're going to have some tips, some talks about personal development. But first, we got to talk about, so Vince is actually a retired pilot for United, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an American guy, but so don't hold it against me.
So was I.
Oh.
So was I. I was at American.
He flew United, but he rode American.
So, yeah. I flew them both.
Oh, nice. Okay. Nice. We good then. I don't know what it is. Like, I won't fly anybody else. So like here in Dallas, we have two airports. And so I will fly Southwest, but it's so far. The airport that they fly out of is so far away from my house. I'm just like, I just know America's going to take care of me. I'm good.
Let's see. I guess I'm just a Texan in and in. I'm just like Southwest. Wherever Southwest can take me, that's what I'm getting on.
It's a hometown airline thing, but I'm a pilot, so I'll fly anybody, especially if I can be in the cockpit. That's the important thing.
Do you still fly? Like, do you have your own personal plane?
Not at this time. Mary and I are considering a couple options right now because I retired early. There was an opportunity due to COVID. And unfortunately, I didn't think it through because I miss flying so much that Mary and I we decided, okay, we'll talk about what kind of airplane we can get, so at least I can get some flying time.
There you go.
Yes,
I like that.
That's what's up.
Yo,
and so that's love right there, bro. He was like, "Hey, listen here, look here,
she likes
daddy.
Going places." So,
oh, okay. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win situation.
Win-win, yeah.
Where was your usual route?
Well, you bid different every month.
Oh, really?
I love flying airplanes. So I love taking off and landing. So even though my seniority would hold international flights, I bid domestic. I flew the Airbus 320 as a captain for 20 years.
Wow.
So I just up and down. Can I make a landing? Can I do a takeoff?
I was about to say, you just want those shorter flights.
Yeah, mostly. I like about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. Gives you some time to just kind of kick back a little bit once you get airborne, and then go right into the fun stuff.
I like it. It reminds me of trucking. Like my brother, he's in trucking, and when he first got into trucking, it was like the long haul. So you got to go all the way to Cali. You got to go out, and you're just on the road. And he realized, you know what? That's cool. It's fun, but I'd rather do the shorter things that I could get in maybe a day or two. So that's interesting, man. But he loves it. He loves it. He wouldn't trade it for the world.
Better y'all than me.
There's some tough parts about being away from home.
Yeah.
I mean, that gets old sometimes, but and the most exciting time for a professional pilot, especially one that's got lots of time, is the challenging parts. So when I'm excited about flying, the passengers aren't too excited about it.
Yeah, look, I just came back from I was in LA last weekend, and I hate flying. I absolutely hate it. I love going places, but I hate flying. And it's the stupid air pockets. I can't get with it. But the worst air pockets I ever. So we were just talking about before we started this podcast. We were talking about Vince's podcast, the Miracle You. He just had a young man on there. He's from Kenya. So I went to Kenya on a mission trip, and so that was actually the worst air pockets I ever flew on or felt, because we were on a little prop plane, a little 20-person passenger plane, 10,000 feet. Like, I closed the door, I can still see out the window, and we were flying like near a thunderstorm. And I felt everything. So anyways, that's
What has been your most challenging flight?
Well, I would say the most challenging. I flew in Desert Storm.
Oh, wow.
So my flights in Desert Storm were quite challenging, but also as an instructor pilot in the military, I flew in the military for about 10 years.
What'd you fly in the military?
The EC-135, the Airborne Command Post.
I don't know what that means.
If you were familiar with war games,
yes,
that was the airplane that was airborne 24 hours a day with a general on board. So
that's just way up there, and that's like sending all the
just flying around, making sure the communications work, able to launch all the ICBM missiles from the air if they had to, that type of thing. Yes.
So you were from that whole lot.
You were from that to United to SelfHelp.
Well, that's a really good story, and I'll definitely share it. But actually, I went to American first and flew at American for 16 months, and then went to United.
Okay.
I got laid off, unfortunately, as we know. So the self-help world, Josh, I'll tell you, as people get to know my story a little bit more, at 5 years old, I told my grandmother that I wanted to help people love themselves so they could love each other.
At 5?
At 5.
Wow.
Now, what kind of 5-year-old has that insight? Unfortunately, like most men, especially men in the U.S., I forgot that really quickly as my grandfather started teaching me what he believed I should be as a man and how I should show up in the world. So the self-help world was always there. And I did a few things along the way. I mentored high school kids. I coached ball teams along the way. But, you know, all my successes, there was always something missing. So sooner or later, I was going to come back to the reason I was here.
Sorry, quick side note. Do you marry? Do you guys have kids?
We do have 2, yes.
Okay.
Older. Nobody can see me in the podcast. I'm 63 years old.
Vince, our YouTube views are really starting to get up there. So
excellent.
I'm glad you did your hair, right?
So everybody can see how attractive I am. So we have 2 older kids and 2 grandkids right now.
Okay.
So,
congratulations.
That's
Colorado
the
with
exciting
you?
part of it. Mm-hmm.
Are they in Colorado with you?
They live in the southern part of Colorado, about 6 hours away.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Nice. So they're close.
Close, yes. Mm-hmm.
What's
Not closer, right in the airplane, right?
What's the?
Go ahead, Kev.
I forgot what I was gonna say because I know you was coming with something. How you're a little kid and you're about to say something and the parent looks at you and be like,
I didn't even do anything.
I just felt that way.
I don't know. So what I was going to get to is, so the self-help for you is always there. We've had some people on, and I'm a big fan of personal development, and we've had people on like Quest Green that's talking about, you know, the best way to have a good marriage is to have personal development. Like you're only as good of a partner as you are growing. And so for me, that's kind of what I believe as well. But I want to know from a professional, like what's the importance of self-help? Like,
that's good.
Why do we need to do it?
Well, from my aspect, and I'm going to come from a little bit different aspect than most people do.
That's fine.
From my aspect of it is we're here for something special. Each and every one of us are here to do something special. And for us to bring what we're special in, we have to really learn to accept and love every part of ourselves. And there's parts of ourselves that we don't like so well. Most of the parts that we don't like so well come from when we were in those early years that something I did, something I said, something someone else did or said, my parents didn't like or accept, or my teachers, or the pastor, they didn't like or accept what happened. So we put judgments on it. We start to believe that if I show up this way, I'm not lovable. If I show up that way, I'm not good enough. So we take those on and form a set of rules that kind of hold us back in a lot of ways. In my story, I share the fact that I was in the self-help world, like the Jack Canfield shows up, Chicken Soup for the Soul guy. He was one of my mentors. And
really?
When I started bringing self-help, I wanted to talk about goals. I wanted to talk about using visualization, all of that.
Yeah.
But when Mary came into my life, she moved me into the more, well, she challenged me. I was saying move me in. She actually challenged me with looking at things a little bit more spiritually.
Okay.
And I grew up in the Catholic religion, 12 years of Catholic school. And some of the things she said, it made sense, but it didn't quite fit my beliefs from what I learned in school and everything.
Yeah.
So as I started, listening to her and to be honest with you, to kind of prove her wrong, but also kind of try to figure out what's right, I did a lot of research into science.
Okay.
And as I
the science of
quantum physics, the mind, the brain, how we put things together, how we hold on to things.
Yeah.
The deeper I got into the science, the more I realized what Mary was sharing with me was right on track.
Yeah.
You should have knew. You should have known.
You should have known.
It takes a while. I'm slow. So I pitched all the self-help stuff that I put together. I had a book 60% written. I had workshops built. And it's like, wait, there's more to this. And it kind of explained to me why all the way through my life, no matter how successful I was, I felt that there was something missing.
Yeah.
And as I started to understand, look, we're here for a reason. And these rules that we've brought into our lives because of our experiences as a child, or the rules the society has put on us, is holding so many people back from living what we call their unique purpose. So I realized, Kevin, I had to do my work. Because if I'm going to stand on stage or I'm going to sit in front of a microphone and do a podcast, I better have done my work.
Yeah.
And it's a journey, and it continues to be a journey. But as I started to do my work, I started to see we have to live by our own rules. And I don't mean go against the laws of the land.
Yeah, no.
But each one of us is so different.
Yeah.
And I can teach both of you how to be a really good Vince. But I can only assist you in being a really good Josh and a really good Kevin.
That's really good.
But tell me this, Vince. So why don't people do the work? Why don't people trust the process? Because what I'm sure what you probably see is that people they start doing the work, and I don't know, life happens, or again, they don't trust the process. They don't see, they see Vince where Vince is today, and they're like, oh, well, I'm not getting there that fast. So, you know what I mean? Like, what is it that people don't trust the process all the way through?
Well, I think several things. One, we've built up this belief system inside of ourselves that's so strong that we believe that we can't do it, or we believe that somebody else has got something that we don't have. Or in a lot of ways, society doesn't want you to change.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, break that down. I need you to talk a little bit more on that. What do you mean society doesn't want you to change? Because
I'll give you a perfect example. And it happens in the male-female world a lot when it comes to spirituality, self-help. I quoted there for those of you that are just listening. It seems like women, and being in touch with their intuition, they're more willing to step into who they are faster and to realize that they're here to deliver. a purpose, and a purpose that everyone needs. So what happens in that is they start going to these workshops, they start going to these seminars. They want their husband to come with them, or their significant other to come with them, so they can grow together. But there's a lot of let's say just
resistance.
The way, well, not just resistance, but the way it's looked at on the outside world.
Mm.
What do you mean, Josh? You're going to this woo-woo conference
to
get in touch with yourself? You know, there's still
it's like the male toxic. I can't say that word. Toxic masculinity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you think that's changing though? Like, are we, because so here's what I'm getting, because this is a selfish question, this next one. So complete transparency. One of my goals with the podcast is to eventually hold conferences called, you guessed it, Dads on Purpose. And the guests that we have on the show will most likely be the speakers. And so that's why we want such a diverse mixture of guests. And so what I've learned, or what I've seen and experienced, is that especially with COVID, dads, men, we're more likely to go to a virtual conference than we would to fly somewhere. So pre-COVID, if this was 2015, me and Kev, we're not flying to Colorado to go see Vince do a workshop. It's just not happening. But what I experienced is David Shands, one of my coaches, he was hosting a conference in Atlanta. Long story short, it was like April 2019. This is like when COVID is brand new. And they pivoted very quickly to everything was virtual. And what I loved about it was that you could be in different rooms if you wanted to, but then you also got the chance to watch them over and over and over again. So now it's not this stigma of I'm traveling to go see this show, or I'm traveling to go to this self-help workshop or something like that. But now you can do it, quote unquote, in the privacy of your own home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I wonder, is that just my experience, or is that what's becoming the norm? I don't even know if the norm is the right word.
I would like to think that it's the vulnerability that COVID has access to a lot of these men. Because even when I say that, I think about getting onto some of these other social apps that were coming out at the same time COVID was kicking in, and getting into those apps and those groups and just listening to men literally number one, thankful for the space to have so that they can express their feelings and what they're going through. But I listened to tons of men, whether they were in India, Europe, Asia, and just looking for a space to be vulnerable and to get away from the toxicity of manhood that the society and world has placed on us. And I think I want to even want Vince to kind of dig in, because he's mentioned it and we've kind of glazed over it. So I want to fish back, because he said, like, when he grew up at 5 years old, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to help people live happier lives.
Yeah. But
his grandfather started teaching him how to be a man. And so I'm curious, is that part of the story? And did that kind of change, not really change your trajectory? Because I know oftentimes, right, God made us to be who we are, and we're eventually going to be who we are. That's a part of it. That's my message. I've been working on a message, y'all, and that's it right there. But God already made us who we are. So even at a young age, it will illuminate, but then we will also get dragged into other venues, but we know it's still there. So we're doing the best that we can to be who we are in a place we're not supposed to be. Ooh, that's good. Oh!
You got the message. You got the message. Well, let me share my thoughts on that. And I want everybody on the podcast that's listening to take it from the aspect of learn from what I'm going to share about my life and what I'm going to share about this journey, to understand how you can be a better dad. Because we put so many of our beliefs on our children. We put so many of our fears on our children. And it's not because we're bad dads. It's not because we're bad moms. It's
Mhm.
because we're doing the best we can in what we know in the moment. But unfortunately, we are giving our children our rules
Mm.
and then asking them, be who you are inside of our rules. And it's really tough for our kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to share with you, and there's some people going to say this guy's crazy through all of this, but I believe we make a decision to come into this world.
Mm.
And when we make the decision to come into this world, we choose the difference we're going to make. We choose the purpose we're going to make. If that's true, it makes sense when astrology lines up a certain way, or we're in a certain family, or we grow up in a certain neighborhood. Because if we're here to make a difference, everything that happens from the time we're conceived, we are working towards making that difference. So the brain, the neural networks in the brain, 50% of our neural networks are formed at birth.
Mm-hmm.
They're already formed.
Yeah.
Our parents and our grandparents.
Yeah.
So we've already taken a lot of beliefs and a lot of ways of being and put them in our head and brought it into the world. Now, the good news is we can rewire our networks. The brain's all set up to tear down the old ones when we don't use it.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from the aspect that we chose to come into this world to make this certain difference, it makes sense that we came to these parents who could teach us lessons, help us develop a belief system for us to learn what we needed to learn along the journey to experience the difference that we're meant to make. So I'm a firm believer, and quantum physics tells us this: there are no mistakes or coincidences. Mm-hmm. We are the creators of our lives. Mm-hmm. By being the observer, we create. So if we're creating all these circumstances along the way, things that, oh, I was a victim, you might believe you were a victim, things that you might believe wasn't fair, but look at all the experiences that you've had. Look at the gifts and talents that you've developed. Look at the understanding of what people are going through that you're getting. So all along the way, you're developing everything that you need to bring your purpose to the world full force. To do that, we kind of had to forget why we came in here. Because if we remembered, we wouldn't have learned all these great lessons. So one of the things we do at Imagine Miracles is we take people back to those times in their lives where they felt they were a victim, or they didn't understand why something happened to them the way they did. And we find the gift in it. We find the reason, what you developed to help you live your life even more.
Well, so how do you do that?
There's several ways to do it, and I've got several exercises, but one of my favorite ones through all of that is, okay, this is what happened to you. In what happened to you, what did you learn? What did you have to? How did you protect yourself? How did you learn to deal with other people? What did you take away from there that you would never do again? And as we go through and we look at all these amazing things that came from it, now we've got a gift. But then to take it a little bit further, if we're the creators of our lives, and if we create through perception, which is really based on our belief system, is that belief system serving us now? And was that belief coming from a place where it truly made sense? It truly had reason. And why I say that, guys, is because between our frontal lobe, our reasoning part of our brain doesn't start to develop until we're 7 years old. And it's not fully developed until we're in our late 20s.
You said it doesn't start until you're 7?
Till you're 7.
I feel like my daughter's 3 and that she's already reasoning with me.
They're coming along, but she's probably also learning a lot from you as
Well,
parents.
yeah.
Yes.
But if you think about it, now you've got a 3-year-old pretty much. Well, first of all, are you familiar with brainwaves?
No.
No.
You talking over my head.
Way over my head. I'm like, whoa.
In this now, we're in beta brainwaves. That's just where our brain is working. We're taking in all this information.
Yeah.
1.1 billion a day or 4 billion a day, and we process 2,000. We're taking all this in. When you close your eyes, your brain moves into an alpha state. It's kind of your meditation state.
Okay.
When you start to sleep, it moves deeper into a theta and then deeper into delta. And when you're having these great dreams, you're in delta. So that theta, you're just kind of a sponge taking in everything around you. That's the children's brain up until about 5 years old. They just soak it all in. Just take it all in. And unfortunately, they believe they're the center of the universe because everything that happens around them.
Mm-hmm.
So they take it on as their responsibility. Mom and dad had a fight because of me.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's not happy with me because I wasn't a good girl and I pulled my dress up over my head. Those type of things.
I wear pants.
Right. Start programming our
bloomers.
So they're coming from a place, all these beliefs, all the things that they use to perceive the world around them has come from the outside world.
Yeah.
Without any reasoning capability. So now if we go back,
it's good.
And let's say I have a lady that we're working with, and in her childhood, she believed that her father didn't love her as much as her brother. And it's just a perception because dad didn't know how to deal with a little girl. So he's playing with the boys and the little girl gets kind of left by the wayside. So she believes her dad didn't love her. Now she goes out into the world and she starts looking at men from a place that she's not lovable or she's not likable. And they do one of two things. They kind of climb into a box or into their cave, or they go overboard and try everything in the world to get the boys to like her, right? Which is taking her on the other side of things. So if we find the gifts in the situation that, okay, she learned what little girls feel like when dad pays attention to her brothers. That could be huge if she's here to help little girls on their journey to grow into women. And that might be the difference that she's here to make. But then we can also go back and she's coming from a place that dad didn't love me. I wasn't lovable.
Yeah.
But now we can take that reasoning brain and we can look at that situation and could dad just not have known how to deal with you?
Yeah.
I would say, I think that's probably like the biggest. I think that's kind of where that settles for me is that, because you hinted on it earlier, as far as, parents and things like that. And they did the best they could with the knowledge they had. And I think we've said that before. And that's probably the biggest thing for me is that, we really do the best we can with the knowledge we have. I spoke about, one of my mentees and his girlfriend. She would get mad because her family that she came from, a bunch of strong single women, they would tell her to leave him. And I said, here's the deal. You can't be upset at them for giving you the information that they have. Like all they know is how to be strong, single, independent women. They can't tell you how to have a successful relationship. And so I think, I know I just stopped you, but there's just a lot of information going on, and I'm really just a sponge right now. I feel like poop, but I'm really just trying to absorb it.
Yeah, and I really like the reasoning, because oftentimes as I work and mentor young men, specifically young men, a lot of it has to do with critical thinking and reasoning. It's critical thinking, just being able to think through the processes of what's going on, what's happening in my life right now, and reasoning like, was it really, okay, the situation that happened, was it really my fault, my issue, or was it something else had occurred, an event has occurred, and I was in that situation that I could have easily gotten out of. But just critical thinking and reasoning when it comes to personal development, I think is something that's lacked among a lot of individuals just because of our system and our society, especially in today's school system. I'm looking at, man, pray for our school system, man. It's just because it's like we're getting our basic critical thinking, reasoning, and things in that system. And so I'm learning that a lot of us are growing up not knowing how to be critical, and not, when we say critical, not, what's the other word? The critique, like the worst critique critical is just saying, I'm not trying to say I'm a bad person or this, but I need to think through whatever obstacle or whatever I'm going through. And I like what you're saying too, Vince. It's like, identify your gift and your mess. Like, oftentimes we like to run from our mess, but our mess, going through our mess is what turns out to be the gift to help others out of their mess. And I think that is just, man, bro, brainwaves, and but I think it's all good. It's a lot of great information, but if we don't sit down, and I think that's true for a lot of people too. For me, when I think about personal growth, all people can go through some kind of conference, sit there, take notes, but if you're not going to go back and critically break that down and really go through that work so that you can be better, then those conferences and things aren't going to get you the results that you're looking for. But
and Josh shared that with us earlier, really, that it's you've got to be willing to do the work. And it goes back to sometimes we don't believe we can do it. Sometimes we don't believe we don't know the how. So because we don't know the how, it's better not to try. And we've got voices in our head. We've got ego personality that we've developed to help us on that journey. They're more than happy to keep us from moving on. But if you think about what you just shared, Kevin, there are so many young people who want to be on their own. They want to be their own boss, but they still don't have the reasoning capability. But our society has developed, and in a way that parents have to figure out how to help these kids on their journey instead of telling them what their journey is.
That's it right there, Vince, bro. I've been preaching that to, I think parents hate when they see me, because I say it's not about you, it's about the kid. And then how can we help the kid in their journey, not in the idea that we have for them. Man, I ain't gonna even lie, Vince. I live right next to TCU. And man, TCU is like $100,000 a year. It's expensive, bro.
It's not 100,000.
It's expensive. It's expensive. Right. So, and I talk to the kids though, and I'm like, hey, why are you going to TCU? What are you getting your degree in? Are you happy with it? No, I'm just doing it because my parents told me this is where they're paying for it, and this is what I need to get my degree in. And then you start getting in deeper conversations. They're not happy because no one is really considering the child and their gifts and what they have, but more so, hey, I'm doing the best to get you where I want you to be, then get the best to get them where they should be as an individual. That to me, I think when we talk about the next generation, is definitely a high key for parents, dads, moms. If you're listening today, we got to meet the kid where they are and help them grow their gifts, not what we want them to be, but help them along with where they are.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that's how you end up with kids that are doctors but really want to be a painter or an artist. You didn't spend $200,000 on school and they gonna quit and go teach stick drawings to middle school kids. Go ahead, Vince. What were you about to say?
In my world, and you ask about moving people through. First of all, we don't call it self-help. We call it personal growth or transformation, because really, if you think of it energetically, and I'm big into energy because of the quantum physics world, self-help means what? There's something wrong. There's something wrong with you. And really,
I wouldn't say, but that's fine.
Yeah. It's just a stigma that a lot of people have. What do you mean? I need help?
Yeah.
And
like, yes, you do need help. No, I'm just listening.
I'm going to do it myself. So, but what I want to share there is that if you're coming from a space of no mistakes or coincidences, even the kids that are going to TCU and are going to end up being doctors that they don't want to, there's something being developed in them, gifts wise and talents wise, and an understanding that's being developed in them, that if they get to that place, and hopefully it's not at 60 years old where they have their wake up call, but when they get to that place of, oh, I meant for something else, I'm meant to do something different, I'll guarantee you that all that education, all that understanding is going to come into them living that difference. And that's where going back and finding the gift comes from. That's going back and changing your perception and the beliefs that you have moving forward. We do in our program called Take a Quantum Leap. One of the things that I do is I take people in to find those things that they're good at, the things that they really enjoy doing, and the things that they're talented at, that they're just good at just because who they are. It was part of what they brought into the world. And then look at the process that they've been bringing those gifts all along. Then when you open up the purpose to them, I can take every single person I've ever worked with and go back once they found their purpose and show them how they live their purpose in every stage of their life.
Man, I love that, Vince, because it's funny. You sent me back when I first got into ministry as a minister. Man, my first message sucked. And he was like, my mentor and my pastor at the time, he was like, KB, your messages are gonna suck until you live life. Like I mean, Josh and I have talked about this before. I hadn't lived the roughest life, but I hadn't lived the best life, right? But he was like, hey, once you start preaching and start teaching and doing the things that you do, your messages will get better. And so now I see myself 20 years past, 15 years past, saying, wow, what he was saying was true, because all of the crap that I went through fighting to be in my purpose makes those things better. But now, even at this point in my life, I've taken on a new position at a church, and I'm seeing like, man, everything that I went through and done has elevated me, not even where I'm at now, but even to a higher level. And saying, because of these skills, because I did all of this, or because I went through this has been added to my purpose so that I could come out even better. And so now I'm in a place to where I'm doing the inventory, like going back and saying, man, I remember when I struggled there. Dang, yeah, that's a lot that I've learned from that. But now being even able to take those moments and use those as coachable moments to my team where I'm at now and developing my team there. And so I've gotten all of these tools that I can go back and be like, man, when I was stuck at this, or I had a bad relationship doing this is what I've learned from there. And these are the tools and things that I gotten to make me even better in my purpose today.
That's why the senior saints at the church always say, just keep living, baby. Just keep
living, baby.
But really what it is for you, Kev, I mean, that's, in my personal humble opinion, that's you just understanding how to be relatable. When I listen to Eric Thomas, when I listen to him talk, he's got a PhD, he's got a doctorate. But he still pronounces words incorrectly. He still uses the hood vernacular sometimes. And for him, it's like, yo, I understand that 80% of the people in the world don't have a college education. He's like, I understand that. And so I'm just talking the way that he's like, I can go to the PhD if you want me to. He's like, I'm gonna lose people. And so for you, you were just, kind of working your way through and understanding how to be relatable with people. That's just.
Yeah, but I had to learn a lot of that. And so I think that's what Vince is revealing to me is some people see the relatability. That was my purpose. That's my gift. It's all of the other. That's what I do easy, bro. Bro, put me in a room with anybody. I can relate from a 75, 95-year-old all the way down to a 2-year-old. But it's the little things on the frustrating parts, the things that I couldn't get over to a student, or when I tried to host a large group, because that's my purpose, that's my gift. That's we do this thing called Working Genius at my church. So I'm an enabler and a galvanizer. So I bring people together, I pump them up, I get them working. Those are things that are easy to me, but it's the nuances like the admin stuff, or those relationships that I jumped in blindsided thinking like, oh, this is going to be a great relationship, and then 12 months in you get your heart torn out. Like, it's those type of things that I see that Vince has revealed to me, like, hey, that your purpose and your gift and your talent is to be relatable, but let me give you all these other gifts and lessons until you get to where I'm trying to get you to. And so for me today, I feel like, man, I'm where I've been working towards. I didn't even know I was working towards this, but now I'm like living the best life, but being able to go back and grab some tools to help me excel to the next phase of my purpose.
One of the exciting things about it is I'm going to take you back to quantum physics, but the law of attraction, if you will, the experience that you've had, Kevin, and that you've had, Josh, there's something about you. You've moved through them. You've learned to have new beliefs around it. You've learned to have strengths about it. And you're putting this energy out. You can't help it. This energy just goes out because that's what we are, energetic beings. Who are you attracting back to you? The people that are having the experiences that you had to learn your gifts and talents, to learn your lesson.
Yeah.
And that's what I share with people. When you find your purpose, when you're truly living your purpose, the people who want you, the people that need you, are energetically attracted.
Boy, talk then.
Yeah. And they're energetically pulled into your life. So when you're on purpose, it's not going out and finding the business.
It's not.
It's being who you are, being the example, being prepared to share your gifts and talents, and the flock will show up.
Hey,
that was
right there, man. If you just show up and be who you are, the things they'll come to you. It'll just happen. But you need to show up and be who you are, not showing up trying to be something that you're not.
Right.
That's good.
And as parents, if we can help kids learn early to start understanding their wants, their needs, why they're being pulled in this direction, and help them on the journey instead of saying, picking up that paintbrush, I don't think that's the smartest thing in the world. You need a stethoscope around your neck. If we can get to that place of, okay, you energetically know you're getting this message, you're hearing it in your prayers, you're hearing it in your whatever, you're getting this message. Okay, how do we follow the message? And how do we build on the message instead of, and this is actually harder for parents than, I know the best way for you because I made mistakes and I don't want you to make them.
Yeah.
And that's how we deliver as a whole, collectively right now. I made the mistakes, or I saw somebody else make the mistakes, so I'm going to make sure you don't. But then we take away their calling. Take away the direction that they know they're supposed to go.
Well, so when do you take those requests or those things seriously? So you said you were 5. My 3-year-old asked her what she wants to be, and she said she wants to be Tinkerbell. So I mean, hey, baby girl, if you want to be Tinkerbell, you could be Tinkerbell. That's fine. But then she's like, I want to be, I'm going to get on a rocket ship. Hey, baby girl, we can get on a rocket ship. Like, let's buy you some rockets so you can play with those. You can figure them out, and so she's just all over the place, which is absolutely fine with me. I don't care. We're entertaining it all. As long, what did they say? The number one goal as a father is just keep them off the pole. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? So whatever else you want to do, baby girl,
just don't get on the pole.
Right.
My answer to that would be have the conversation.
Yeah.
Why do you want to be Tinkerbell? What would it make you feel like to be Tinkerbell? What would you do for other people?
Mm.
Because really what she's doing is she's feeling a calling of some sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And in that calling, there's things she's learning. There's directions that will open up for her, doors that will open up. But if we stifle that, if we say, no, you can't be a Tinkerbell, or do you know how hard it is to be a rocket scientist?
Mm-hmm. Or Tinkerbell isn't real. Like,
but you know what? There's a lot of fairy godmothers in this world who have made big differences to children.
mm-hmm.
And that might be the energy that she's feeling. So it's in allowing the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, how do we create? We create with thought and feeling.
Yeah.
Thought and feeling is imagination. It's visualization, bringing your five senses and bringing your feelings into it.
Mm-hmm.
So if nothing else, Josh, help her build that imagination.
Yeah.
Because
we don't stifle that at all. We do not.
But I think that's the message to those who are listening. Me and my wife went to the park for a lunch. And we were just gonna sit in the car and have lunch, and we pulled up to the playground set, watching we seen some kids out there on the playground set, but they're young kids, right? But the parents are sitting in the car. And so one of the things that hits me is that, number one, the parents have lost their imagination because they can't see the fun in the playground. But number two, the kids can only unlock so much of their imagination at that point. And as a parent, my thing is to blow your mind, right? So when Kendall says, let's build a fort, I'm getting 150 blankets and we go build a fort, and it's going to blow her mind, right? Mm-hmm. Because she doesn't know what a fort looks like. I'm the one that's giving her. So when when a kid comes and says, hey, I want to build a fort, I don't feel like doing that. Why you want to build a fort? You're just trying to tell that you're, and I was thinking about some of the things of how we're stifling our kids' imagination, because the one thing that Vince said, speak to your kid. I think a lot of parents look at a 3-year-old and it's like, well, I'm gonna be talking to a 3-year-old for. A 3-year-old can't understand what I'm trying to tell them.
Yes, they do.
As Vince and I know, if we speak in English language, in a comprehensible language, they understand what we're saying. Mm-hmm. We just need to slow down and really, really understand what they're saying and what their needs are and what they want to do, and not just be selfish about what we choose for them to do at that time. And I think it's difficult and it's hard because we're trying to be a parent, we're trying to be an individual, then we're trying to be a parent. So we got our own stuff that's going on, and then we have this young person that we're trying to help develop. And if we're not living in purpose, then how we're going to help? Parent ain't living in purpose. How the kid go live in purpose?
Right.
So.
But do you mind if I give a personal example of what we're talking about here? So I told you about my grandfather. I used to lay in, I came from Ohio, born in northern Ohio, lived there for the first 20 years of my life. I used to lie on the grass, watch up in the air and watch the airplanes fly over. And I loved the white marks that they were making in the sky. And I wanted to be one of those people to leave those white marks in the sky. And my grandfather told me, stop dreaming. You need to be an engineer. That's where the money is. That's where the security is. That's where the safety is. And he started to turn me away from wanting to fly airplanes. And then at 7 years old, I had this crazy, stupid young pilot who took us up for a ride in an airplane when I was a Cub Scout and just scared the crap out of me. And so I thought, I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of airplanes. I'm afraid of everything. And my grandfather said, I told you it was stupid. I told you should stop that dreaming stuff. But I was meant to be a pilot for several reasons. And that's a whole nother podcast in itself. But I gave up the flying world until I was 24 years old. And the only reason I started flying airplanes is I went into the military to finish my college degree. And I wanted to get it done as fast as I could. I took the Air Force officer qualifying test. I blew the pilot scores out of the roof. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to stay in the Air Force, I might as well try to be a pilot.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
My first 5 flights, I was scared to death. I never actively got sick, but I had my flight glove ready, so I didn't mess up the cockpit. But I got back to that place where that little kid knew what I was supposed to be doing.
That's good. That's good.
And then, 20,000 hours later, I mean, it's just, it's spectacular. I'd rather be in an airplane than anywhere else. If I could be in the cockpit and teach people transformation, I'd do it.
You actually can. So there's a guy I follow. I forget his name, but he actually does cockpit conversations. So he records his podcast while he's flying. And then, so I'm just saying it's a thing. Yo, that I got a lot of hour more things that I want to talk about.
That airplane in the cockpit conversation.
Right? Yeah.
Here we go.
I have like an hour's worth of things I want to talk about, but I'm literally dying over here, y'all. So we gotta go. I'm sorry because there's like Vince, there's so many layers to not just you, but to the things that you're talking about, man. And this happens all the time when we have someone, especially with this a new way of thinking. We touch on so many certain parts. Yeah, we gotta have you back. Like, we gotta have you back. We got to do something again.
I'm ready.
But what is something you want to leave with the people about personal development? Maybe someone that's struggling or just in general.
Well, the struggles, there are gifts in them. And in covering those gifts and understanding how you're becoming more of who you're meant to be in it will open up so many doors. And I want to share that we all have a combination of gifts and talents that nobody else in this world has. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason for that. And there's people out there looking for you to share your gifts and talents so they can share theirs, so they can live their purpose, they can make their difference. So put it out there.
Right.
Find somebody to walk with you. Find a good coach, a coach that will push you when you need to be pushed, pull you when you need to be pulled, walk hand in hand with you when you need somebody to walk beside you. And they help you find your way. Because you're never going to be all of you until you learn your way and you bring it to the world.
That's good.
That's good.
That's really
Vince,
good.
where can they find you, man?
MagicMiracles.com, Vince Kramer on Facebook, Vince Kramer on Twitter. And if you want to learn a little bit more about Imagine Miracles on Facebook.
And don't forget the Imagine You podcast.
The Miracle You. Yes.
Sorry, the Miracle You.
Yes.
Miracle You podcast. So you got a whole bunch of ways to get in contact with him. Kev, what you got, man?
Man, the gift is in the struggle. Vince put it out there. And one of the things that really touched me is that you will know your purpose at the beginning. You may struggle, but you're gonna find your purpose in the end. So just keep pushing. Just keep pushing.
I love it. I like it. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Anyways, hey, my last tidbit on this, guys, like there's so many, just as Vince said it, there's so many other people's destiny that is waiting, that's connected to you tapping into your destiny. So if you can't do what you need to do to get to where you need to be, there's like 1,000 other people that can't get to where they need to be because you're quote unquote being disobedient. So do the work. Go ahead, put your talents out there. Like the podcast, share the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. Until next week, we'll see y'all. Take care. God bless. Peace.